Good evening. Welcome to the Town of Cicero Planning Board meeting. Would you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Ms. Scanlon, would you lead us off, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Just to note, the first two agenda items have been removed by the applicant for this evening. First order of business is the approval of the November 20th minutes. Any questions or comments? Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Mr. Duval. I'm sorry, we need a second.
Second,
Mr. Duval,
Yes.
Mr. Wilkie,
Yes.
Ms. Scanlon,
yes.
Mr. Bloss.
Yes.
And I vote yes, minutes have been approved. And now we'll go to public input. If there's anybody here that would like to address the board on any active application, you can do so now. Given nobody's approach, we'll close the public input and move on to the first agenda item, number 3 on the list. This is for Bank of America. It is a proposed remote on Bartel Road. The applicant here. Good evening. Welcome back.
Just for the record and to reintroduce myself, Matthew Checo with Stonefill Engineering and Design, here on behalf of the applicant, Bank of America. Last time we were here was August 21st. Over the summertime, we presented our initial application to the board. And just to refresh everyone's memory, the proposal is to install a remote drive-up ATM in the Bartel Center Shopping Plaza, the corner of Brewerton and Bartel Road. You can see here on the screen that we're proposing to access the ATM via the parking area on the east-hand side of the proposed lot and exit towards that northern drive aisle after you do your transaction. There today is a just lawn and grassed area with some trees to the west and to the south. To the north and to the east is the drive aisle and the Brewerton Shopping Center. Due to the increase in impervious surfaces, we're proposing a just stormwater basin to collect and treat the water, and then that will slowly dissipate out to the existing swale and stormwater features for the shopping center. Since this is an ATM, one of the points that we talked about last meeting and in Rumble's review letter is the security lighting and standards that's required for ATM. And we've proposed those necessary security measures and lighting for this design. We went back and forth with Mr. Parrish to go over some of the comments that were in his review letter. I think we were going back and forth on just reducing the light levels, making sure they were less intensive. We've toned down the lighting as best as we can and best as practical while still trying to meet the security standards. Other than that, the only other comment that is outstanding is the cross access agreement, since we're connecting into the adjacent parking lot to our east. That's still being worked on and we haven't received that yet, and we understand that needs to be present and available for this project to move forward. I don't know, Mark, I'll turn it over to you just to kind of go over the lighting and landscaping.
Yeah, that's typically we go through the board, right? Mark, how do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do the typical. So we'll up the questions from the board. Jimmy.
Yeah, Mark, are you satisfied with the level of lighting?
Okay, we'll jump right in. I guess in my opinion, it's high. It's, I would say, significantly exceeds what is required by the ATM banking law codes. I understand that, we typically try and keep things under 8-foot candles. They're, up depending on which plan you look at, because they've got quite a few different plans. Some of them, because there's some requirements in the banking law that require you to look at the light level 5 feet above grade, at grade, etc. So as you look through, and typically, are the lighting plans we look at are the ones at grade. So that's what I would try and compare these two. So I guess if we get to those plans, You know, here's at grade. I can just zoom in. You know, directly under the ATM and the canopy, you know, we're up at 18, 24, 13, 14 here. I will say that it drops off fairly quickly. You know, and it is pretty good. I think the other areas out here really, you know, aren't so bad. I mean, again, a little bit over 8, you know, here we're at 9.6. So, you know, not too bad overall. I think we're pretty close. It's just pretty bright under here, but I guess that's not atypical for what we get from ATM.
It's common,
Plans.
it's common discussion.
It is. I guess the other thing I would just like to point out regarding this is the actual, yeah, it's still the same one. Yep. Get to 6 inches above grade. Trying to get, okay, yeah. So here's the actual ATM facility. And if you see here, you can see there's a little bit of an angle here to the canopy. And what they have are basically two light bars here, I guess, you know, kind of like, they're not fluorescent, but imagine them as fluorescent lights, but I believe they're probably LED fixtures. So, you know, typically what we like to see is, you know, have the, you know, like a canopy light, typically, you know, like a can light or something like that. The fixture would be up in it. You wouldn't see the fixture, so you wouldn't get the glare from that. So these are a little bit different, how they're doing it, and you will be able to see that light just, you know, looking at the facility. There's actually one of these on East Circle Drive. They have a similar ATM. Looks just about identical from what I could see. I went out and looked at it the other night, and it wasn't terrible, I guess, just in my opinion. So over the, you know, again, we're not going to be able to approve this tonight. You know, if the board members do have a chance to stop by there some evening and look at it, you can get an idea of what this will look like. I can't guarantee what they're specifying is exactly what's underneath that canopy, but I assume it's pretty similar because everything else looks basically identical.
So I can tell
Um,
you the exact.
yeah.
surround
It's,
or a comparable one.
yeah, it's, let's see here, where are we?
Actually a bank there, right?
Yeah, yes, it is. Yeah, it's this one right here. Is that the Bank of America? Yeah. So, what we got there?
5-8.
Yep, 5834 East Circle Drive. Yeah. But yeah, if you drive around behind, the ATM's on the south side of the building here, so you can drive around and look at it and see what, you know, like I say, it's seemed to me to be just about identical with what's being proposed. So, yeah, so that's I think my comments on the lighting. Again, I think for the most part they've done a good job. Just those few little concerns, and so
So you're saying that the lighting exceeds the ATM regulations?
yeah, I mean, the ATM regulations really only require a maximum in well, it's within a 5-foot radius. I think I've got it in my notes. Yeah, so within 5-foot candles, nope, go up a little bit. It's 5-foot candles within a 5-foot radius from the and that's 5 feet above grade. And then 2-foot candles, 30 feet around it, and then 1-foot candle in a 60-foot.
And that's all 5 foot above grade.
Yeah, well, actually the 2-foot candles in the 30-foot radius is measured at ground level. The 1-foot candle at the 60-foot is 5 feet above.
In the candle that you were showing for what they're proposing, is that at grade or is that 5 foot above?
Well, they have, a number of different plans here. So this one is the 30-foot radius, that's they have 50 and then 60-foot radius. And yeah, it looks like these are at grade, that's 5 feet above grade. So you got to look through here and really kind of parse exactly what you've got.
So how much over are they
Oh.
compared to the requirements?
Well, again, directly underneath it, you've got a maximum of 24, 12, in the teens. Whereas technically it only needs to be 5 to comply with the banking regulations. But again, typically when we're doing this, I mean, for lighting plans, what I usually ask the applicants to do is have a maximum of 8. And, sometimes we get a little above that because, we don't have a strict code to go by. So, I just use kind of best practices and look at what other surrounding towns also have, if they have lighting codes, what they use as a guide.
So typically around 8 and they're at 15.
8 maximum. I mean, yeah, directly underneath it.
Can you
The-
adjust that?
What they've done on the other parts, they're very close to meeting the 8-foot candle that's been requested. And again, seems fairly reasonable.
I'll be fairly transparent. So the ATM canopy has 2 lights. All right, that's a typical Bank of America standard. To basically just, if you buy it at a Home Depot or something, that's how they manufacture it. It's basically that's how they come, and that's like their prototypical standard for their surround. It's 8 feet tall for that canopy, or 10 feet tall, I believe. So it's fairly low to the ground compared to 24 or 25 foot tall or 20-foot tall poles, right? So therefore you get a lighter illumination on the ground level. So directly in front of the ATM, it's about 20 or 25, okay, which obviously exceeds the standard because the standard needs to be 5, right, directly in front of the ATM itself for a 5-foot radius. Okay, so that's always going to be bright. Every Bank of America is going to exceed that threshold in New York State. But with that said, the other requirements, 30-foot radius around the ATM. Yes, we're bright there as well, but the darkest, and it's weird to say it like this, the darkest foot candle around that 30-foot radius is 2.5, right? Where the requirement's 2. Yes, it's very bright underneath the light, but when you expand and look at your radius and look at these quad boxes that we've prepared, we're meeting the requirement, but just by a 1/2 foot candle, right? Similarly, for the 50-foot radius, the requirement is 2-foot candles. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The 60-foot radius, the requirement's 1-foot candle, right? And the darkest light is, if you look at the plan, it's sorry.
Take your time.
It's like, around 3. So we're exceeding it by 2-foot candles, right?
Right.
Directly beneath that is where obviously it's going to be brighter, but as you dissipate and look at the radius, we're nearly meeting the requirement with just a little bit more threshold.
So the biggest discrepancy is right underneath it.
Exactly.
And how can you adjust that?
Well, the Bank of America, we'd have to go back to Bank of America, and they're not really willing to change their prototypical ATM to do that. So we're hoping that, we can have some flexibility here just due to Bank of America's prototypical ATM lighting and their canopy overhang. It's a standard for them, and they like to keep their standards.
The East Circle Drive one is going to be the 8 or whatever.
No, I think if you were to actually measure the East Circle Drive, it would likely to be, and again, I guess if you can check on that,
Check, yeah.
I guess, yeah, I think, he's made his case. I've explained my concerns. I guess I would suggest maybe if you can, and I'm not gonna say you'll be successful, but maybe go back to Bank of America and if the board shares my concerns, again, make the request again to see if they can deviate from that. And if they can't, you'll come back to the board and get a decision. In the meantime, again, I'd suggest the board go out and look at it. And
Definitely.
if we find out it's the same, you'll at least know what you're getting. You know, and again, it's not the worst I've seen. I was talking with Steve earlier today. I mean, if you drive up to the corner of 3111 here and look over at the Empower FCU ATM, it's horrible. And I'm sure it wasn't what we approved. But I'm also sure that it's been retrofit or changed since then. Same out in Bridgeport, the one that's over next to the gas station and the laundromat there. I mean, so again, look at this. I don't think it's going to be the worst one you can see. I think there's other examples around it that are certainly much worse.
And
Okay.
just to respond, we've actually gone to the manufacturer to see if there's another surround of the ATM is what it's called. It's basically just a fitting that sits on top of the ATM itself, and then there's the casing and surround with the overhang to see if they have a flat, non pitched or angled canopy, as well as if we can reduce the 2 lights over there just to 1, which will significantly reduce the lighting. So we're still working on that. Similarly with the cross access easement. So we understand that we'll have to come back. Hopefully in the meantime, we'll have an answer for you if that's even possible to do with the reconfiguration of the actual surrounding ATM itself.
Right. I think, you know, we understand the security issue and public safety and
So you think it's gonna be too bright for the surrounding businesses, or
Well,
aren't the lights just down?
that, I guess that's what I was trying to, yes, generally they are down, but what I was pointing out
not
was
the one.
on this part here. And if you look at the front, let me blow it up a bit. So if you look at the front view, you can see the lights. You follow, because it's on an angle and they sit in here. You know, I mean, if there was a, you know, a
Hangover.
yeah, an overhang or something there, you know, in front, you wouldn't see those lights. I think you'd get pretty much the same illumination within the radius that you need. So, you know, to me, it could be addressed, but again, go look at it, see what you think. Look at some of the others around town. Again, I don't think they're going to be, this one doesn't seem as bad as some of the others again that are out there. So yeah, I guess.
All right, sounds like a plan. Jim, go
Yeah,
ahead.
one other thing. In the notes, it says it is recommended a turf reinforcement mat be provided.
Yeah, that's been addressed.
They did
Okay,
that.
what is a turf reinforcement mat?
Basically, it is a mat that you put down to help stabilize the soil and prevent erosion. It's a netting, essentially. There's all sorts of different types and strengths, et cetera. What they had proposed was riprap, which is stone. And where they were doing it, really, it wasn't needed. And stone, it's unsightly, it's hard to maintain around it, things grow up in it. This allows vegetation to grow up, and then you can just mow it and you can't tell any
And
difference.
the mat will last for a while, you know.
Depending
durable
on the
enough.
types, some are permanent, some biodegrade over time once the vegetation's been established.
Yeah, question.
Jack? We'll get you.
So from the first time you came, has the lighting plan, it's already been scaled down, or that's what we're still on? Okay. I'm all set. Thank you.
Eric?
So we talked about the lights right where the ATM machine's gonna be. What about the rest of the lights on the site?
They've
So-
got some additional pole mounted lights. Which again I think are you know, are pretty reasonable. Looks like we got 4 of them. So, well, 4 poles, 6 total lights. You've got a double light here, a double here, and then 2 single ones here and here.
What about on the stretch going down to Burton Road?
Over to here.
Yeah.
They aren't proposing anything there. I don't know what is existing over there.
Is that just gonna be a long, dark exit?
I personally don't know if there's lighting there today. We can look into that and get back to you. I know there's a couple, I think there's a cafe over there and a law firm's office, I believe. I'm not too sure if they have
Okay.
any lights on their facade or in that parking area, but we weren't planning on touching that as part of this application.
Okay, and that's just an exit, right?
Well, it's an entrance to the shopping center and an exit to the shopping center.
Yeah.
So it can be like a through access, I guess I'll say. you know, that's just subsequent and ancillary to our application here. It
Okay.
doesn't look like there's lights proposed there. It looks like there's that cap.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any
Yeah,
lights there.
I just want to make sure it's safe for people. And then signs, are we all set with signs?
Signs, the only signage, they have some directional signage. And then really, most of the signage is on the ATM itself, as I showed you. But, and I think you got some do not enter over here. So yeah, just really just directional signage. And the other signage, so to speak, would be on the ATM itself. So yeah, we got some stop signs, do not enter signs, so to prevent people from coming in. I think they've got a, you had it,
Right against the, right there. We
am I missing it? I can't.
the drive-through signage with a little arrow. I think
Yeah, I can't.
it's just above the riprap or the riprap pad, the turf pad there.
Oh, okay, here, yes, okay, yeah, I'm missing it here, yeah, so drive-through ATM. And there are details of those shown. Oops. Yeah, so,
Okay,
All
I'm
set?
all set, yeah.
Done?
If I were to come off Bartow Road and pull up to that ATM machine, how many vehicles approximately, could you stack behind me? So, like 3, 4, 5. So I guess my concern would be, we'd have to be cognizant of the fact that they'd be backing out into Bartow Road.
it's coming from the other direction.
You
So-
would
so
come
you-
from
you-
the
you-
mall in?
Yes,
Shopping plaza.
yes, yeah, so you enter. You enter down below here,
Okay, so you.
down through here,
You got more than enough room then to,
Yeah.
what they call stacking.
yep.
Okay.
You would approximately have about 3 or 4 cars in that drive aisle where the ATM is,
Okay,
before you get into the shopping center parking area.
okay, I'm all set.
I have nothing additional, Steve. Yep. Mark.
I guess the only other thing is the board had requested some, looking at some additional landscaping. I think there are some existing trees that are around the site, but I think the board suggested maybe looking at some, low-lying landscaping or something, and I guess you've elected not to do that, I guess, so. I'll let you.
And just to,
but-
like reiterate our point that we made last time and just explain a little bit further is that it's just a maintenance for Bank of America. We would have to just maintain those plantings, and it's just another thing that they would have to, maintain as part of this project. Right?
And I guess I'd say you've indicated that these trees are to be maintained.
Yes, so
Right.
every tree there is gonna stay. We're not proposing to take any trees down, so all the existing trees will stay as part of this application.
So it's, at least during the summer here, right? It is fairly well blocked. I guess we just need to make sure that those trees remain. And if for some reason during the construction process, they,
They indicated it on the
Are-
plan
it does say on the plans they are to remain, but
in the proximate
I'm
location.
sure Steve would
Happy to see.
indicate that that doesn't always happen, but.
Hmm.
So, yeah, and again, I just, it was the board who suggested they might want to see something. It wasn't provided, so I just wanted to let advise the board of that. So,
Since we are coming back, I will again mention that to our design professional.
We like landscaping.
I understand. Thank you.
All set.
yeah, I think so.
All right. Anything additional from you?
Unless there's anything else from the board, that's it.
I think we're good for now.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Two.
Gonna beat the snow home.
Yeah. Drive safe, please. Thank you.
You as well. Next item on the agenda is for a proposed building expansion at Walmart 8064 Brewerton Road. Good evening.
Mr. Chairman, board members, my name's Travis Koger with Dewberry Engineers. We're representing Walmart on their project here in town of Cicero. As part of this project, what they're looking to do is add an approximately 4,000 square foot expansion that will house their pickup operations. I know there's currently pickup online, pickup and delivery associated at this store since COVID kind of exploded, and they've noticed that there are an uptick in pickup orders, so they're using this time to expand their pickup operation country. And as part of that, they actually need to house these pickup orders within its own designated space within the store facility. So the expansion will only house pickup operations. It's not intended to be used for any public use or shopping. It'll only be stored for pickup operations. As part of this project, we're also going to be updating some of the striping and signage throughout the parking lot to meet Walmart's guidelines that they have. So you'll see a couple of new stop signs, stop for pedestrian signs, some updated stop bars, striping throughout the parking lot. For the pickup stalls themselves, we would be removing the existing stalls. Those would be converted back to regular parking stalls, and then 39 stalls will now be added closer to where this building expansion will be going. Those will be striped to be 12-foot in width to accommodate the pickup customers, and that would just be 39 stalls. And I will make one other mention. There are some easements, covenants, and restrictions at this facility that has a parking requirement that we need to meet. So in this back portion of the parking lot, it's northeast portion of the parking lot, we will be converting some of those spaces from the 9.5-foot stalls that are out there to 8-foot compact spaces, just to make sure that we're meeting that parking requirement from the easements, covenants, and restrictions. So if there's any questions, I'll gladly speak to the board or to Mr.
Procopio.
Opio.
That's okay.
Or any other comments that any of the engineer or any of the rest of the township may have.
We'll start with the board. Jim?
So you're changing how you're gonna do the pickup, right?
So essentially the same operation, it's just moving. So they'll still come up to the parking space. The customers will they're here on their app, and then the associates will bring the orders out to the designated parking space that they're
So you're just changing where it is.
just changing the location of it. That's correct. So I think right now it's currently more centralized in the parking lot. It's going to be moving closer to that garden center area.
Okay. So current setup, that's gonna be converted to,
Regular
Parking space.
stalls, correct. Yep.
all right, I'm good.
Zach?
I am all set.
Mary?
Thank you.
So you're also doing a little expansion. Can you talk about that? Because is that where the shopping cart area is right now, or?
I think there may be a shopping cart area there at the moment, so they will have some internal reworkings. So as part of this project, there's also an architectural piece. So they'll be submitting their building plans for the interior. So they'll have some changes to the inside to accommodate any interruption to shopping cart areas or anything that's out there. Right now, it's just the building expansions plan to be in that sidewalk area next to the garden center. No increase in impervious area. There's no utilities that are being impacted by the expansion. It's pretty ideal spot to put it. It just kind of fits right into where the sidewalk is. I will note we will be adding one new light pole towards the back of the pickup, just so that it's lighted for the associates and the customers there. That will have 4 lights on it, and then we're adding one light head on the existing light pole that's right along the building frontage road right there at the expansion.
So the existing doors into your store
Mhm.
are gonna remain the
They
same?
will remain the same. Yep, the customers will enter in the same locations that they currently enter.
Yeah, we were confused last meeting with your big rectangle dotted line around the entrance there.
Yeah,
We
so
thought
that's just,
That was all changing.
Yep, that's just to indicate that, to reference another sheet so you can see more clearly what the striping changes are along that front row. So the rectangle, the dotted rectangle is just to reference another sheet, but we are not changing the entrances to the store for this project.
So do you feel that your new location for the pickup will have a negative impact on the shoppers that come in to actually go into the store, to have to drive further?
For the customers who are going into the store.
Yes, who
I
are
think
there
it ha-
shopping, that they have to drive further?
So the customers who are entering into the store should actually have a shorter, so because the pickup was in the middle
Yeah,
of the site,
Mhm.
so now the pickup customers are
now
having
they're
to
in
drive.
between the two doors.
Well,
Previously,
yeah, if you go to SCCP two sheet, it might show it a little easier.
this is where the pickup was before.
Yeah,
And they're moving it over here.
Yeah.
But,
It's better for walk-ins.
Yes.
In the walk-ins, I'm sorry, the ones, yeah, the walk-ins always park there where I'm
I
trying.
always park
Oh,
there.
okay.
I always park there personally.
And walk in,
Well, yeah.
SCCP.
even though it says reserved.
So,
Oh, no.
like, next sheet after that, so. I guess it doesn't,
yeah,
yeah,
that overall probably.
yeah, I guess so. But, so so where do you park now as a walk-in customer?
Right where you're putting your new pickup.
Okay, so does that mean you usually enter in towards the garden center area, or you just enter on the right side of
On
those?
the right side. Not,
So there
not the
should
grocery
be-
side.
More parking at,
It's-
more parking at the front of those vestibules now, so you should have the ability to park in front of the entrance vestibules as opposed to having to park off towards the side where the pickup parking is moving to, and then have to walk in from that side.
As long as the signage is,
There are
Adequate,
directional signage, that's on PS1 if you want to switch over to that sheet, but there's directional signage that is being added. It might be sheet 5 of the set. So we are adding some directional signage that will help the customers know where they need to go for the new pickup location.
I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
You explain what you got, right, so you've got all these numbered
Correct.
signs here.
Mhm.
Are those going on a sign here?
Those are going, so if you scroll just slightly up where you see the sign, so that sign that's right in the middle of your screen now, that is the full setup for what would typically be at the pickup parking. That's the proto.
So that will,
That whole setup is what is the proto for the pickup stalls for this new iteration. If there's some concerns with the amount of signage, there is a smaller pickup logo signage. So instead of that big, long sign that says pickup, they have a smaller one that's almost the same size as that middle sign that's the call in.
so what would be, we probably figured it out, but you know, so what's the full dimension of?
If you go to the next sheet, there's details that should have it, I think.
The big one's 5 foot by 2 foot,
Or actually they're on the bottom right there.
Oops,
the banner.
that's a banner, that pickup banner, that's just here.
Yeah, so if you zoom in, I think one is called large logo, should be called large logo. Yeah, so,
Okay.
That would be,
so that's 18 by 36
that would be mounted.
sideways.
Nice.
Yeah.
Then you've got this calling sign,
Yep, that's
right?
8 by 18.
36, 54. That's almost 5.
So it would be 36 plus 8 plus 18. So yeah, 36, 26 plus 36, 62.
I guess I'll be bored when they build AC or.
That's a lot, I see a lot of signs.
A lot of
Yeah, I
signs.
mean, it's a lot of signage associated with it. I mean, there's 39 parking spaces, so there are a lot of signs associated with it. Like I said, if there's concerns about that large logo sign, they do have a smaller pickup logo sign that's more similar to the size of the call-in sign, so it would be closer to an 8-inch by 18-inch sign.
I'm more comfortable with that. How about you guys?
Yes.
Is it one sign between each spot? In other words, 39 spots only takes 18 or so signs, or you're saying there's 39 signs? Is it going at the head of the parking spot?
Yep, so that whole
Hmm.
that whole conglomerate of those 3 signs goes at every spot. So it would have the number sign, it would have the call-in sign, and then it would have the pickup.
I just
logo
thought
sign.
maybe it was two-sided and then you had it on opposite sides and you put it in the center.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's gonna be
Yeah.
there's one middle bollard and it's mounted on each side, but
Okay.
each side has all 3 signs.
Okay.
Is that similar to what's there now?
It should be, but I'll be honest, I did not have a chance to visit the store. So that looks like a temporary reserve sign.
It's
and
a
it has
pickup, it's got
it
this-
has a temporary base,
Yes,
so
and it gives the spot number and
it has the spot number. It just, that sign looked like it didn't have the rest of the call in and but that number sign would be,
it's got a call-in number. But so it's not that.
it's not that, that's their temporary sign that they have to go in the temporary base. This is the more permanent proto that they like to use for their projects. If there's, like I said, if there's concerns, we can try to work with the town and with Walmart to figure out the best solution. But
Scale,
that's-
scale it down.
That's
Mhm.
at least what we were proposing. So if we went to the smaller pickup sign, so if it was the 8-inch by 18-inch, would that be acceptable to the town? So you'd still have 39 signs, 39 combinations of a number sign, the call-in sign, and a smaller pickup sign.
So this would be similar to this one?
Correct. Yep.
So
So-
the 18-inch dimension go this way.
Yep.
Assuming this has pickup in the ads.
Correct. Yep. So it would be 18 inches, 8 inches, and an 8-inch.
And where's, where does it go? In each spot,
Each spot.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
and how is it attached?
There's a bollard in between and they're just mounted into the bollards. So similar to that, it would just be all vertical along that metal piece coming out of the bollard.
So you've got file in here too.
Yes, the bollard would be at the parking stalls.
Yeah.
Yep.
What color are they painted?
Those are usually painted yellow.
If they didn't have the word pickup, that part of the sign, the regular shoppers that go in the store would park there.
They do anyways.
They probably will.
It says reserved for pickup. They always have them going. We're good with that signage?
Well,
Where were we? You, Mary?
Yeah.
Are you done?
I'm all set.
You're gonna provide elevations?
We can provide elevations if needed. The architects should have those available, so we can provide those to the township for review.
Yeah, we'll want those. And then with the changes that you're making, what happens to are you losing spots, parking spots? Is that why you want to do that compacting that doesn't meet our standards?
So as part of the ECR requirement, it is based off the total square footage of the building. And we're adding on to the square footage of the building. So we had to increase parking due to that. And the pickup spaces are slightly larger. So there was a small decrease in parking to include this 39 pickup stalls. And then just the building square footage increase, so we needed to gain parking spaces to meet the ECR requirements that are governing this site.
Mark, I'll defer to you, but it seems like we're making it worse because the compact spots seems like it's just playing.
Yeah, so ECR, easement covenants and restrictions, so can't remember if this store is a lease store or if it's just governed by an ECR because of the development area that it's in. But Walmart has signed a legal agreement with either the landlord or development within the area that they have to maintain a parking ratio that was determined, I think it may be a 4.50 ratio per 1,000 square foot. So in order to maintain that ratio, we looked through the town ordinance. I believe there was allowance for compact spaces within the town ordinance. No.
That's the problem. The 8 foot width is not allowable by code.
Okay.
So we're actually losing spots with those.
Well,
Not
by making it narrower,
right,
adding
but
more spots, and they're maintaining the same
Yeah.
number.
Yeah, but a compact car is not gonna,
Well,
compact cars aren't gonna drive over there and park.
They won't.
so, it's a number, but but it's not a lot.
okay. Then
Is it 9 foot?
9 by 18.
9 by 18 is
The addition you're making is not for shopping area. There's not gonna be any additional customers in there. So isn't
Right.
there anything in that agreement? I mean,
It-
you don't need
it's
extra parking for it.
Yeah, unfortunately, it is strictly based off of total building square footage in the agreement, so that's what's governing that piece.
Are those new though? I see it's bumped out right there. Is that brand new?
Those are.
Oh, they're
existing,
existing?
yeah, those are
Okay.
Existing spaces. There's the chance we can go through a legal agreement to get it amended. We just were trying to avoid having to bring in.
An enormous issue for.
The compact spaces or.
Parking ratio. If that's what you're trying to do, maybe they would ease up on whatever.
Right. Yeah.
You don't have to do that.
Yeah, I mean, so there have been, of course, we come across this a lot because they're changing their parking lots, so we have the ability to try to get ECR amendments. Just sometimes those are cumbersome, sometimes the landlords don't always play nice, so we try to find a way to not have that, to go through that legal process, but if the township doesn't allow compact spaces, then we are gonna have to go through that process no matter what. If we have to leave the 9 foot stalls, then there's no other way. We'll have to convert those back to the normal stall width, and then we'll just have to go back to Walmart. The other option, depending on how many spaces we would gain, is there's an option to make the pickup stalls instead of 12 foot. Those could be slightly reduced in size down to 10 foot or 9.5. But if you go to the parking table, it's on the cover sheet or right, maybe. Yeah. So we need 938 spaces with the expansion to meet the 4.0 parking, 4.50 parking ratio from that ECR amendment that we're trying to.
So 12 additional.
12 additional from what's. Yep. So we can potentially, like I said, reduce the pickup stalls down to a smaller width to maybe gain those 12 spaces. But we're also going to lose spaces from that compact number. So I think overall, we're just going to have to go back to Walmart and work through legal to get an ECR amendment on that one.
All right. I have nothing further, Steve.
Are you proposing, you won't want to get the elevations, maybe
Yeah.
they'll show it, new signage? Because we've received the sign application, so I'm holding off on it to see if it's part of this package.
So if you've received the sign application, that should have come from the architects and they should have had that in there. But if not, we can get it to you, but they will likely have some updated signage on the building facade.
Yeah, so I think you need to show that with your elevation so the board can review
Yeah,
it.
we can definitely send you their entire, or at least pick and choose out of their package, because they don't, I guess, necessarily need to see all the interior changes, but we can show the building elevations, the signage, all of that. We can get that to the board for their review of that as well.
Thank you. Awesome.
Neil? Mark?
I think you covered everything. I will. I'll send you.
Okay, so you haven't provided a comment letter.
No.
Wanted to make sure, because I hadn't seen, I wanted to make sure I didn't.
I
like
like
to
to
miss anything.
At least have the concept of the board.
Yep. Makes sense.
And we'll have architectural review as well on this one.
I don't think they. Building elevation.
Yeah, if that's a comment, if you put in the comment letter, we'll have that correct in there.
Perfect. Anything else from you?
No, I think we're good. At this point, we'll get the letter from the engineer, and then I'm assuming we'll have to come back for the next planning meeting after we get the comments.
And have a chance to respond? Yes.
Sounds good. I appreciate it.
Wonderful. Thanks.
Thank
Have a
you.
great night.
Have a great
Thank you.
That concludes our agenda items. Any discussion, comments from the team? None? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Meeting